No, I'm not copying Sargon. This video has been in production for weeks before I saw his video that covered nearly the same thing. I'm still making this one though, since I said I was going to.
So with recent events that have been happening in America, the phrase "I'm colorblind" or "I don't see color" has been cropping up a lot.
Speak up, or at least speak closer to the mic. I'm gonna have to turn this thing up by 12 decibels in order for people to hear what you're actually saying.
And I'm really here to discuss why phrases like that are really kind of problematic. I'd like to preface this video by saying that I'm not saying that black people or POC people deserve any kind of special treatment because of our skin color.
You sort of are. What you're saying is that black people should be treated differently from white people, or at least that their skin tone ought to be taken into consideration when interacting with them.
I'm also not saying that we shouldn't treat everybody fairly when it comes to job interviews or school situations. I'm just seeing that detracting colour from life is kind of problematic. So the phrase "I'm colorblind" / "I don't see color," they're interchangeable. They are usually used by a well-meaning person to highlight that when they're in a situation where they meet people, race is not at the forefront of their mind, which is great.
If you really believe that, you wouldn't have even made this video. So I feel inclined to disagree that you even believe that.
But race is such an ingrained construct that even if you pretend to not see it, and if you pretend that it doesn't exist, it doesn't take away from the experiences that black people or POC people are suffering.
You say on YouTube inside of your suburban-looking house.
1. Color blindness invalidates people's identities.
Isn't that part of the point though? Not really taking into consideration what the person is, just what they think. Isn't that... I would think that would be a good thing though, wouldn't it be?
There are a lot of things that are attached to race, such as language and culture and just all these beautiful things, and taking away color kind of detracts that from people.
The way black people are known to talk and the black culture, as you say, is a cultural construct. It only appears in the poor areas, and poor whites are equally likely to engage in it, since it's not really a black culture, more of a poor culture. Black people in suburbs, or raised by white people, are indistinguishable from whites, aside from the obvious external differences. Color really is just skin deep.
I completely love my culture and my heritage, and to say that you don't see my color is to say that you don't see my identity.
No, we're not. That's more of an in-your-head kind of thing. Also, no, we're not taking away your culture by not thinking about it every second of the day. Just like you're not taking away my culture by not talking about skiffle music, 1990s video games, and thorium reactors every time we talk. It's just not really pertinent to this conversation, you know?
2. Colorblindness invalidates people's experiences.
The problem with this is that nobody knows anybody's past experiences. Assuming that everyone has the same past sounds familiar, though. Imagine we're talking for the first time and I say, as a black woman, surely you're well acquainted with anger and have driven away many men. I'm absolutely sure that you're not that sort of person. You can't even muster up the energy to speak loudly while trying to persuade people, but that's what would happen when you're told to just assume the person's past experiences.
I've also experienced a lot of black history and a lot of black pride, but we also experienced the negative sort of the reason why the Black Lives Matter campaign is starting now. And to take away colour is to take away all those experiences from us, as to strip us from racism that we've suffered.
So are you saying that you want people to be racist to you?
Persecution, and that's just not correct, because as hurtful as it is to say sometimes, being persecuted has completely shaped who I am now. 3. I want people to see the fact that I have wonderfully brown skin, and I want people to see that I have kind of a weird afro thing going on. I want people to see that. I don't want people to mock me or take that culture from me and appropriate it, but I do want people to appreciate what I have to offer. And colorblindness makes color sound like such a bad thing, and it's not. And if we were all pink, it would be super boring.
Do you know what colorblindness in this context is, or are you just scraping the bottom of the barrel? We don't literally become colorblind or avoid looking at you because you're black. If the latter were true, then that would more properly be called racist. Compliments when meeting up about some feature about your physical appearance isn't incompatible with colorblindness. The philosophy is about not making assumptions about your character or achievements from your physical aspects, not pretending everybody is a shade of white. Oh, and white people aren't all pink. There are a couple Asians and Jews among our ranks. And you might be able to count Michael Jackson in after her race and sex change. I'm sorry, that was a cheap joke. I won't do it again.
4. Color blindness limits stories. So I have heard so many stories about like wonderful things, like my heritage, so about stories about my grandparents, my great-grandparents. That's a really lovely thing to hear, and these are stories that we all share and we all find interesting. So it's always really interesting for a lot of my friends to hear about things that I've experienced being a black person.
Just because some people don't call you the N-word doesn't mean that you don't get to share your experience. You do still have a different worldview. Or, wait a minute, I just realized, you do want racism. You do actively want people to be racist. You don't want an equal society. You want racism to wow your friends over with. Or at least that's what this point sounds like, because you worded it so poorly. Considering your flawless English accent, and yes, there are multiple English accents, I know that, but I'm using it as a generic, just like I would call my own accent an American accent. Considering that, I doubt you are a first-generation Brit.
But definitely helped them kind of have their eyes open at the privilege that they had. The truth is, we need colour. Without colour, we won't have all these beautiful stories, some hurtful, some absolutely destroying stories of how we got to where we are now.
Ask any German Jew who has parents who lived in Europe during World War II. You'll get some stories
about how slavery and how, we started integrating our worlds together instead of being Africa and the West. Like, we won't have that.
Oh, looks like you finally found a list of good things that happen when you don't take into account the race of the other person you're talking to every 5 minutes.
To say that you're colorblind completely strips me of my identity, and to me, color will always mean something, because color is who I am.
Well, I'm white. Does that mean that I need to bring up being white every day and tell you to respect my identity as a European American, always bringing it up to the forefront of your mind? No. Because I don't care. Because what one person I'm likely to never see again isn't so important to me that I feel like I'm just completely invalidated as a person, and I need the reassurance of others to not kill myself. Racially speaking, I mean.
It's a big part of my identity. It's told that we're called coloured because we're not blank canvases. We are full of art and music and history, and it's all written on us. And we definitely wear that with pride. And I am super proud of my skin, because it's a whole bunch of stories.
Does that include the cultural baggage of every black criminal who lived? That would mean that my skin is imbued with the story of every white criminal who has ever lived, but also every white inventor, artist, or author. Not poets, though, they can go bugger off. Which, considering how many inventions came from the hands of white people, harnessing electricity, indoor plumbing, the computer and cell phone you're ever so fond of, etc., would make my skin superior. But it isn't. That's because not taking race into account means that no one race is superior to another. That's the whole reason that people are colorblind in this context, I mean.
Thanks.